Yo, it's day 8 of our DEI challenge where we're building a website. Today we're going to add a SharePoint list to the site, one of my favorite SharePoint tools. So instead of creating a spreadsheet, you would create a SharePoint list. So let me show you how you would do that by creating a list of stakeholders. Okay, we are back on the DEI website that we've been building over the past few days. Um, we got the link to the conference where people can register, all of that stuff. And we have these buttons. We built these buttons the other day, but we didn't link them to anything. We're going to link this stakeholder button to something today. And normally, if you want to have a list of stakeholders, you're probably going to create a spreadsheet and then like upload that somewhere or send it around to everybody through email. Instead of spreadsheets, when it's time to collect information, use a SharePoint list. I'm going to show you what that SharePoint list looks like today by creating a list of stakeholders, and then we're going to link it to this stakeholder button. Creating a list is pretty easy. It's super powerful, but we're just going to barely scratch the surface. Go to the home page, click New, click List. After that, click Blank List, and then and then we're going to call this Stakeholders. Then we hit Create. Automatically, every list comes with a column called Title. We're going to rename this to Stakeholder. So we're going to put the name of the person there. Now let's add a new column. Call this choose a choice column. Then we're going to call this role. So with role, we're going to make an employee. Then we're going to say leadership is another role. We're going to say an ERG member. That's another role. And then one more role, we're going to call it key. So in other words, they'd be a key stakeholder. And we're going to make it so that you can select more than one of these, because somebody could be an employee and be a key stakeholder. So we got to account for that. Now we're going to add another column. It's going to be another choice column where you get to pick. And we're going to call this external/internal. So basically, is this an internal stakeholder or an external stakeholder? Regular stuff that you normally track. So the first choice, we're going to make that external. Second choice, we make that internal. And then we get rid of this third choice. We hit save. We are good to go on that. Let's add one more. We're just going to leave it as a normal text field. And we're going to call this email because we're just going to write the email of the person in here. Now I'm telling you, what I'm showing you is barely scratching the surface, because you wouldn't normally do it like this, but I'm showing you how you would do it if you were using a spreadsheet. Now, I just typed in Jimmy Smith. I said he's an employee. I said he's internal. And I'm going to type out his email. Good to go. Then exit the grid view. Now, that's one way to edit a list. Another way is by using a form. You hit New, and look, the same columns you put inside of the list, they show up here in the form. So we got Yerman Trotman, who is in leadership and is a key stakeholder. He is internal, and Y Trotman at it doesn't even matter, but company.com. Then we hit save. So now we have a list of 2 employees in our SharePoint list. And what I'm going to do is populate this with way more stakeholders, just so you could get a feel for how this would look if it had, more items. Okay, here we go. We have our list of stakeholders. There are all kinds of stakeholders. Let me put a count here so I can see how many I got. I got 17. Okay, cool. Now, what we could do is, there's a ton of things we could do. I know I keep saying that, but let me just keep it basic here and show y'all one of the things. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to filter this to show me all my key stakeholders. So I get to see all my key stakeholders and, the other roles that they play. Now, a list allows me to save this. So I'm going to save this view and call it key stakeholders. And I can reference this view anytime I want. So now we got the key stakeholders view. Let me adjust this column. Save the view again. All right, now we got the key stakeholders view. I can always reference this. I'm going to take this URL. I'm going to copy that URL, and I'm going to go back to our page, the diversity, equity, inclusion page. Let me hit refresh. And I'm going to edit the page, and then I'm going to change this stakeholder button. So I'm going to edit this button and I'm going to change that URL. Instead, I'm going to use the URL we just copied, paste it right in there, hit add. Then I'm going to change the button to say key stakeholders, because that's what you see now. You don't just see all of the stakeholders, you see key stakeholders. So when I click on it, the key stakeholders, here we go. We see the key stakeholders only. And don't forget, we still have a full list of stakeholders, but all we're showing them is the key stakeholders. Now let me show you why you can still use a spreadsheet. Instead of collecting this information inside of a spreadsheet, you put it inside of SharePoint and then you export it like we just did here. And then you hit enable, make sure it's connected. And now I'm looking at the key stakeholders inside of a spreadsheet, but this spreadsheet is connected to SharePoint. Now look at this cool trick. You see that says James Harris, right? Because that's what his name is. We exported James Harris. When I go back to SharePoint, I'm going to edit this item. I'm going to change it from James Harris to Jim Harris, because that's what he goes by. Now I'm going to hit close. I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet, and I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to hit refresh. Look, it says James right now. I hit refresh. Boom, it says Jim, because it's connected to SharePoint.